Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. In this lecture, I'm going to talk about Cisco Packet Tracer. Cisco Packet Tracer is basically a networking simulation software. In this software, we can create networking connections. We can take different wires, we can take different components, and then finally, we can simulate and see what our project does. So this software is very much handy in case of learning networking related stuffs and others. So I'm going to talk about the basic interface of Cisco Packet Tracer in this video. So let's begin. So basically this software looks like a basic Windows application. So you can see that here the menu looks like a random just a simple Windows application, right? There's the file menu, there's the edit, options, view, etc., tools, extensions, help, and in each of the menu items there are sub menus like new, open sample, save as, etc. So most of these stuffs you are gonna be able to figure it out yourself, because these are very basic stuffs. So you have already used many softwares in your life till now, so you should be able to figure it out yourself. These are very basic options like new project, open a project, or saving a project. So I'm not gonna explain these because these are very basic options, and I hope that you will all of you will be able to figure it out by yourself. So I'm gonna talk about basically the other parts. So these are more important. So at first let me just take my cursor here, so and show you that whenever I put my cursor on or whenever I hover my mouse over any of those components, I can see their names, right? For example, if I take my cursor here, then it is showing that this component is known as networking devices, right? This component is known as networking devices. Then if I move my cursor over here, then it is showing end devices, components, connections, miscellaneous, multi-user connections, and etc. So let me just show you. So whenever I click on a random component like networking devices, then it gives me a sub menu, right? It gives me a sub menu. So there are different components under this main component. So under networking device, I have different types of components. So let's check them out. So at first there are routers, then there are switches, then there are hubs, then there are wireless devices, and so on, and some other stuffs. So this is the main component menu. So whenever I click on this main part, networking devices, it gives me some other options which are actually under this main component device, right? So under this networking devices, we have different types of networking devices like switches, routers, etc. So other main options are also similar to this one. For example, if I click on end devices, then I can see if I consider this as the main family, then I can consider them as sub family, right? Or if I consider this as the main option, then I can consider them as sub options. So whenever I click on end devices, it gives me different options here, like end devices, home, smart city, etc. I'm going to talk about them within a bit, but for now let's just see how this work actually. So if I click on components, then it gives me different types of components like boards, actuators, or sensors, etc. And if I click on connections, it gives me different types of options like normal connections or structured cabling, etc. So yeah, this is the basic structure of these menu items. So what I'm going to show you now is that I want to drag some components to this blank interface. So this is my main interface actually. This white interface is my main interface. So in this part, I'm going to be building some type of topology or some type of connections, etc. So let's learn how we can do that. So at first, I'm gonna take networking devices. So networking devices are devices by which we can actually set up our network, right? By which we can actually create our network. So that means if we want to take a networking devices, it must be among any of them, right? So we can take a router, we can take a switch, or we can take a hub, etc. But for this example, I'm just gonna take a router. All right, I'm just gonna take a router. So when I click on routers, so yeah, I clicked on routers and it gives me different models. All right, so like in real life, whenever I want to buy a router, I want to go to a computer shop and then I ask for a router, and a salesman gives me several options, right? And then I choose my desired one and come back home. So like that, here whenever I click on routers, I can get different options, right? So these are all different models. You can see their numbers here: 1941, 2901, 2911, and etc. So for this example, I'm going to use a generic router. Alright, I'm going to use a generic router. So you can see there are two generic routers actually. So one is called router PT. Whenever I click on whenever I move my cursor over a router, then it shows the name just underneath that, what can I say, just underneath that scroll bar. Yeah, so it is showing router PT, and then here when I move my cursor over there, on the other generic router, it shows router PT empty. So for the sake of our example, I'm gonna be using the router PT generic router actually. So the process of moving this component to this interface is really easy. You just need to click on the component you need to use, then you you will be shown a plus sign, which will indicate that where you want to place that component. So for example, if I want to place my component here, I'm just going to click here and the router will place. So let me just show you again. So I click on a generic router, so it gives me a plus sign, and wherever I want to put that router, I am just gonna go there and click on it. So yeah, my router is placed here right now. All right, and you can just move it anywhere if you wish. So you can just click on it and drag it anywhere you want. Okay, so well, let's say I want to move my router here. Okay, so yeah, that's the basic structure of drag and drop. So let's just take another networking devices. So let's say I want a switch 2. Okay, I want a switch 2. So these are different models of switches. So I want to take the first one here, 2960. So I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna place it over there, and let's just say that since we are using a router and a switch, both of these are networking devices, so these are used to create and set up the network connections and etc. But as you know, no matter how many routers in your home are, you do need end device, right? You do need an end device to get connected to that network. All right, otherwise how will you be able to use that internet connection? So by end device, I mean the device which you are actually using. So that can be a mobile, that can be a computer, that can be a desktop or laptop, etc. All right, so that can be a even that can be an even iPad or a normal tablet, etc. So let's take a laptop or desktop computer here. So these are called end devices. These are usually the devices which are at the user end. That's why these are called end devices. So I'm gonna take one end device here. So if I click on end devices, this gives me several options. I'm gonna stay on end device options here, and I'm gonna see that I have the option to choose from any of those. All right, so these are various types of end devices. So we won't use most of them in this course, but for the sake of this tutorial and for the sake of this course, I can say that most of the time we're going to be using desktop computer, laptop computer, or server. There are some other stuffs too, but most of the time we're not going to be using those. So let's just take a desktop computer. Okay, so this is a generic desktop computer, so I'm just going to click on that and place it over there. Okay, so right now in my interface I have one router, one switch, and one desktop computer. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to show you some other types of options by which you can actually interact with this interface. Okay, so there are some other options. Currently I selected this option which is known as select. So there are some other options like maybe this option. So this is called place note. All right, so if I click on this one, and then it gives me it gives me an icon by which I can actually write something. All right, so maybe I wanna label this router. So if I just click here, then it gives me an option to write something. So maybe I want to name this router as maybe what, so CSC router or something like that. So if I do that, then if I write that and if I write that and just place anywhere else, then it gives me the it gives me the name which I actually wrote a few moments ago. All right, so this is the way how you can actually label something. And then there's the option, suppose I want to delete that one. I don't want to keep this name, I want to delete this. So there are several options. Or maybe I want to delete a component. Maybe I took an extra component like this and I want to delete that. So how can I do that? I can just click on this X sign here, and then I want to click on the component which I want to delete. So if I click on that, then this component is deleted. Okay, so that's really simple. These are basically drag and drop type things, and you should be able to figure it out by yourself, and these are very, very easy. There are some other stuffs too. For now we're not gonna be seeing them, but maybe in some further tutorials we're gonna be using a few of them. All right, so yeah, let's move into the interface again. So here we have a router and a switch and a PC. So we definitely want to connect this, right? We want to connect all of this together, because without connecting them we won't be able to set up an internet connection, right? So to connect them we need cables or wires. So this is the connections tab. We can see this is like a lightning bolt sign. So if we click on that, then it gives me different types of wiring. Okay, different types of wiring options here. So we're not gonna be using most of them, but we're gonna be using at least 2 or 3 types of wires throughout this course. And the most frequent wire we'll be using is this one, copper straight through. Okay, so copper straight through, you can see the name underneath in the scroll bar. So copper straight through, and sometimes we're gonna be using copper crossover, and sometimes we're gonna be using this one, serial DCE, and sometimes we're gonna be using serial DTE, this cable. So I have talked about 4 cables till now. So there are some other cables too except this, but besides this, but yeah, we're going to be using these 4 types of cables: straight through, crossover, and DCE and DTA. These 4 types of cable most of the time. Okay, so for this example I'm going to be connecting these devices with copper straight through cable. Okay, so when I say that I'm going to be connecting these devices via a copper straight through cable, so this is not just a random statement. Alright, so there are some rules regarding which components should be connected with which type of wires. Alright, so I'm going to show you a picture here, so which describes that which cable should we use to connect which type of components. Alright, so let's say I want to connect a PC to another PC. In that case I will be using a crossover cable. Alright, so if I want to connect a PC to hub, then I'll be using a straight through cable. If I want to connect a PC to bridge, then I will be using a crossover cable. So something like that. So this is like a 5x5 matrix, and it is a really good way to understand which cables should be connected with which components. Alright, so in this example I'm going to be using I'm going to be connecting a PC with a switch. Alright, so if I want to connect a PC to a switch, then I need a straight through cable. So that's why I'm going to be using this cable straight through, and I'm going to be connecting these two. And again then if I want to connect a switch to a router, then let's see from this picture. If I want to connect a switch to a router, then I will be using a straight through cable too. So for both of this connection I will be using straight through cable. So that's clear. So what you need to do is you need to learn a bit about this image, and you will be finding very easy method here, that whenever I want to connect same type devices like PC to PC or hub to hub, then I'll be using crossover cable. And whenever I want to connect different devices, different types of devices like PC to hub, or PC to switch, or hub to bridge, or hub to PC, in those cases I'll be using straight through cables. But yeah, there are some exceptions. For example, if I want to connect PC with a bridge, then these are two different components, right? So there should be straight through cable, but here it is written as crossover cable. So there are some exceptions, but these are very rare. Most of the cases, if I want to connect same types of devices, then I'll be using crossover cable. But if I want to connect different types of devices, then I'll be using straight through cable. So hopefully you understand the concept of this picture, and over the weeks you will be getting a good what can I say, you'll be getting really good at connecting those wires to different devices. So don't worry about that too much.